What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Jump. Another cleaned up type of video, talk a little ball, and then talk about what to look forward to in this college football weekend. It's been talked about a lot, not the best slate of college football that we got upcoming, but if you're kind of a sicko for the sport like I am, you got a lot to get excited for. So with that being said, let's get straight into it. So first, I want to talk about the Georgia-Alabama game a little bit more. If you didn't see it, go check out the last video. It was like an instant reaction. It was Saturday night, moments after that game. One of the best college football games I've ever seen in my entire life. I think I said, after it's all said and done, I think that's the second favorite game I've ever watched, behind the Oklahoma-Georgia 2018 Rose Bowl. But a little cleanup from this. I know I've talked about Ryan Williams enough on Saturday, but I want to throw a little cherry on top because what he is doing right now is historic. So right now, I believe he has more yards and as many touchdowns or more touchdowns than what Devontae Smith had his Heisman year in 2020. That's unreal. As a true freshman, 17 years old. I know it's getting blown out of proportion. People saying he's 17, all that. This dude's 17 years old. He should be a senior in high school right now. People are saying he should be getting ready for prom. Instead, this is what he's doing. It's crazy. And I do want to highlight, because I didn't mention this on Saturday, he showed one freshman moment. For the first time all season, he showed that he was a freshman. That kickoff. But, I mean, they had to end up punting. It ended up costing them. The kickoff, he muffed the punt because of a little miscommunication with him, and I can't remember who it was that was back there with him on the kickoff, but they muffed the punt. He muffs it, and they have to fall on it. They have to end up punting on that drive, and Georgia takes the lead on that next one. But the difference with him, a lot of freshmen that would bring them down, tear them down mentally. What does he do? He catches a ball, 50-50 ball, makes a phenomenal play, and then makes two Division I 5-star athletes at the University of Georgia run into each other as he runs in to score a touchdown a drive later. It's so impressive what he's been able to do so far. I believe he's second in the SEC right now in receiving yards, behind Trey Harris, who's going insane right now. Had a big play against my Cats this weekend. But yeah, Ryan Williams is a star. And then the guy that's I'm considering it partner in crime because it's two of the best receivers in the country and they're both freshmen. Jeremiah Smith over at Ohio State's doing the same type of thing. And personally, I think Jeremiah Smith is better than Ryan Williams, which could be a hot take. I don't really know what the popular opinion is there, but those two, like I said, I've said it numerous times. This is the year of the freshman. Ryan Williams, you got Ryan Wingo at Texas. You got Bryant Westco at Clemson. Like I said, Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith. You got Dylan Stewart, the edge rusher from South Carolina. Colin Simmons, edge rusher at Texas. You get Cam Coleman at Auburn. I can't remember the other Auburn receiver's name. Both of those guys freshmen. You get Dylan Raiola, the Patrick Mahomes lookalike out there in Nebraska. It's completely unreal what is happening right now. Isaac Brown at Louisville. The list goes on. I know I'm probably forgetting big names too. Like this class of freshmen, they were given something different when they were growing up. I don't know what it was. But this class is crazy, and it's been awesome to see so far. And I do want to give a highlight to give a big shout out to Kane Womack, the Alabama DC. For those of y'all that don't know, he left to follow. I think it was. I'm getting my years mixed up now. I think he went to go be with DeBoer when he had come over, or he could have become the DC last year for Saban's last year. But he left a head coaching job at South Alabama to come be the defensive coordinator at Alabama. And that first half was as good as you can call a half defensively. He had a first-round talent in Carson Beck looking confused out there. I mean, they ended up forcing him into a safety on an intentional grounding call in the end zone. You can't draw it up much better. 30-7 at halftime. It does feel like the foot was taken off the gas a little bit, but I also think a lot of what happened in the second half was Georgia they were getting their feet wet. I mean, it's a big, crazy environment, all this stuff. Obviously, 28-0 is indisputable. Like you can't excuse that, but I think they kind of just got it going and they ended up figuring it out. But yeah, I think Kirby's like 1-6 against Alabama now, so they got to figure that out. But I don't know. There's some power in the A when you look at it. And I think it was either Booger McFarland or Cole Kubelik. I remember hearing them say Georgia, the issue with them is that they're just made up a lot like Alabama. Like, just the way that they try to play football, the way that they go about everything, the way they recruit and all this different stuff. And that's why when they get to a team like Alabama, it's just their version, but better. And that's why they have so many issues with it. That could be the truth. I don't know. But that's just what I've heard some other people say, and that could be the truth. But, I mean, between Glenn Schumann and Bobo, like, Georgia's going to be fine. Obviously, I've said it before, they need to have a meeting with whoever scheduled this schedule for them, because this schedule's awful for Georgia. Like, they still have to go to Texas, to Ole Miss, and they still play Tennessee at home. Like, unreal schedule for Georgia. So the path to the playoff, it's up. It'll be a tough road, but I think the Dogs can do it. Georgia and Alabama, that game on Saturday averaged 12 million viewers. ESPN/ABC's most watched regular season game since 2017. What a phenomenal game. It does feel like you get those moments on Twitter where you do feel like everybody in all of the country is watching what you're watching, and it is one heck of a moment. Like the Super Bowl's like that. If there's like a Game 7 of like the NBA Finals, that's like that. And this is one of those moments. It felt like everybody, whether they were a college football fan or not, was tuned into this game. And yeah, it was just absolute cinema. Want to cover a little bit of the Kentucky and Ole Miss game for those of you all that are watching that may be your first time and you just don't know. I am a Kentucky fan. I mean, you can kind of tell. There's John Wall over here, the Kentucky right there, Kentucky hat, Cameron Mills up there. But I want to clean this game up a little bit, and I want to give a huge shout out to the MVP of this game, J.Q. Hardaway. I don't know where if he got awards from it, because I know Octavius Oxendine was named like SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Alex Rayner was like the Special Teams Player of the Week, but J.Q. Hardaway, we don't win that game without him. He's the one that forced the fumble on Trey Harris. I think he ended up with like 11 tackles. It was unreal. What a game from him, and what a flip of a commitment that was, because I believe he was committed to Cincinnati at first, and now we got him. And with Maxwell Hairston missing this game, somebody had to step up, and it was him and Terrion Nichols. That was also another huge one. So shout out to those guys. And I mentioned it on Saturday, the lucky breaks in this game were awesome for Kentucky, because we didn't get a lot of the calls. I mean, some of the reviews went to us because it's just making the right call, but there was missed face masks, there was missing numerous calls towards the end of that. And I thought it just wasn't going to happen. And then we get two lucky breaks. You get the Josh Caddis ball popping out when Gavin's running the ball, and then you heard Stoops in the postgame say, all we needed was one break, a missed field goal, blocked field goal, and he misses it way left, and that was the breaks. And I mean, it was awesome. It was just getting the luck of the draw there at the end of that game, getting the fumble and the missed field goal was just outstanding. It was awesome. As a Kentucky fan, can't wish for much more. And you kind of need it when it's that good of a team like Ole Miss. I mean, they're number 6. You can say it was kind of fluky because of the schedule, but that's a legit playoff contender. I mean, whether you think it or not, that's a team that's going to be in the hunt for the college football playoff going forward. And I do want to reference. I wish I don't know what the podcast was. I had seen it on my Twitter feed, and I'd watched the video, and I feel bad for not being able to recall what the company or whatever it was, but somebody was interviewing Coach Stoops after this game, and he had kind of called out Stoops for not going for it on the 4th and 7, 4th and 8, whatever it was, against Georgia on our own 48, versus going for it 4th and 7 on our own 19-yard line. And he kind of broke it down. And I've said, and I've stood by the statement that I made that night, that I do not fault Stoops for punting it. I know analytically it probably says otherwise, but I sided with him because it felt like that was the right play at the time. And that's essentially what he did to clear this up. He said in this interview with this guy that he thinks the reason you're in that game is field position, time of possession, defensive play lights out. He thinks you got to punt that there, and you can get it back with decent field position. You can go down and score then. instead of risking it, and then they only got to go a little bit and they kick a field goal, whatever. But in this one, being down 4 points, 17-13, he was like, I trust this defense to get a stop. If we don't get this and hold them to 3 points, then you're down 7. You're back in the exact same position that you're in right now. So why not just go for it? And that makes a lot of sense. I didn't necessarily think about it like that. But he's putting a lot of trust in that defense, and that shows how much he trusts that defense. Shows how much he trusts Brad White to execute if they were to not get it there. And then Berryon goes and makes that unreal play. And yeah, it made for one heck of a roller coaster ride there in that game. But yeah, so I kind of don't fault him still for the Georgia game. And I mean, if you look back in the Georgia game, we got what we wanted. We were getting the stop that we needed, and they fumbled it. We just didn't land on the fumble, and that's how the game ended up. So moving on, I want to talk about the most interesting conference in all of college football. So let me pull up these records right now. I want to talk about the Big 12 a little bit. So, like I said, this is the most interesting conference. I said this in the preseason. This was the most interesting conference in all of college football because it felt like there was just pure drama. And then there's these new Pac-12 teams coming in, and you don't know how they're going to match up and all of this different stuff. So as it sits right now, BYU is in first place in the Big 12, 5-0 overall, 2-0 in conference. The only other teams 2-0 in conference are Colorado and Texas Tech, and I can guarantee you nobody had that in the preseason. I talked about a few different teams. I'd mentioned Kansas in the preseason top 25 team. They're sitting at 0-2 in conference, 1-4 overall. I'd mentioned Oklahoma State, who sits at 0-2 in conference, 3-2 overall. I mentioned Utah. They're sitting right there in the middle, 1-1, 4-1 overall, but a bad loss to Arizona this past Saturday night. This is a crazy, crazy scenario for the conference right now, and it's wild. I do think BYU is legit. Colorado seems very legit. 2-touchdown underdog this past weekend, and they go into Central Florida and win in dominant fashion. I don't believe in Texas Tech. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, I think Morton is a great quarterback. They do not have the defense that can withstand some of these games, and they're going to lose some of these games. Their offense is crazy. That goes without being said, but and then behind them, you get Iowa State, Arizona, and West Virginia, who are all 1-0 in conference. Iowa State is the team that I think you need to watch out for. Matt Campbell, it feels like he's got his team back. Rocco Beck, phenomenal quarterback play out of him so far. Can't ask for much more. They win at Iowa, which is one of the most impressive wins in the Big 12 so far. And they just seem like a team that's rolling right now. I mean, they're undefeated, 4-0, only with one conference game, but as we get into conference scheduling, I think they'll be able to win a lot of ball games. But I just wanted to talk about it because there's only, I'm just going to throw a number out there. It's like 65% of this conference right now has at least one win in conference and could legitimately win this conference. And none of these would necessarily shock you. Nobody is dominant. It feels like it's a wide net, not a great top of this conference. It's just a really wide net. A lot of good teams, not great teams. And that's why I absolutely love this conference. And it's just going to be chaos all year. There's going to be some teams that are in defensive battles, some teams that are just putting up points. It's going to be phenomenal all season, and I can't wait to watch it. And y'all definitely gotta keep in touch with it because Colorado's obviously, you're going to see them in the media all the time, and they have a legit shot. The schedule gets harder from here, but they have a legit chance to win the Big 12 here. Getting to the stocks of the week. So I'll do these before the Heisman rankings. I'll be buying stock in the service academies. Air Force, not great. They lost to the team that I thought was the worst in the country. They lost to Wyoming, bad. Air Force is horrible. But Army and Navy are both 4-0 for the first time since 1945. And there's a chance, with them both being in the AAC, that they play in their conference championship the week before the annual Army-Navy game, which would be wild. And, I mean, I think Navy plays Ohio State here in a couple weeks, so that's definitely something to monitor. But, yeah, first time since 1945. It's awesome. Bryson Daly's one heck of a player to watch. So, yeah, if you haven't watched Army and Navy this year, they're actually pretty fun to watch overall. Army and Temple this weekend. I mean, watch that one. Navy is just rolling. Well, Navy's like beating the crap out of teams. So yeah, shout out to the service academies, buying stock in them. And I'm selling stock in a team that I mentioned talking about the Big 12, Oklahoma State. This team, it almost feels like, I don't know. So Gundy, I feel like, was always this quarterback guru, offensive guy. They're going to score. I mean, this is horrible. It's horrible to watch. The only highlight of the game on Saturday was Ollie Gordon feels like he found a shell of himself, and they scored on a flea flicker. That's the two highlights I have from Oklahoma State. Ollie Gordon has been awful. Doak Walker winner last year, best running back in the country. Coming back, he's averaging like 40 yards a game, and they cannot get him rolling. And it's not even the fact of like people are selling out for him because they can't pass either. I don't know how you're a seventh-year quarterback in Allen Bowman and you're still not very good. I would like to see him succeed. I'd like to see Oklahoma State just succeed overall. This is a team that was in the Big 12 championship last year against Texas. This is crazy. I don't understand the whole Gundy thing. And he'll never get run out of town because he's an absolute legend there. But selling stock in Oklahoma State because this is not a good look. Not a good look. We'll just put it like that. And I don't know what their schedule shapes out like, but I'm like I said, 0-2 in conference already, and they got blasted this weekend, 42-20 to Kansas State. Now they're unranked. They play West Virginia at home this weekend, but then next week they go at BYU, a late kickoff. Kansas State knows what happens there. They're not winning that game, and then it's a favorable schedule. They go to Colorado at the end of the year, though. So yeah, I think they're guaranteed 4 losses, and I could see more on that schedule. But yeah, selling stock in Oklahoma State. So now my Heisman rankings heading into week 6. Right now I have Ashton Jeanty number 1. And I don't think it is a conversation right now. 90 FBS teams have fewer total rushing yards than this one human named Ashton Jeanty. It's unreal. Jeanty also has 845 yards, which would put him at 45th in team rushing. This is crazy. It's unreal. So I think it goes unsaid. And if you don't follow the socials, go check the socials. I made a post. He is right now on track to go and compete with the best running back season of all time, 1988 Barry Sanders. The numbers that he's putting up are ridiculous. This dude has 13 touchdowns through 4 games. And I see all of his betting lines on different sites are like 196.5. And it's like minus 110 to take the over on that. It's crazy. And I think the only way he doesn't is an injury or they're just up so much he only plays the first half because that's what happened against Portland State when he only played half a game. But Ashton Jeanty, number 1. Travis Hunter, number 2. This stat was crazy last week. He played 58 of a possible 64 snaps on offense. And then on defense, he played 70 of 79 possible snaps. That's crazy. He only missed 6 snaps on offense and 9 snaps on defense. That's crazy. And what he's doing is unreal. Let me get his numbers from this game. Because this guy, he would be a top 5 pick at wide receiver, and he would also be a top 5 pick at corner right now. He's just not even human. He had 89 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, and then he had one of the best interceptions I've ever seen in my life. It's crazy. This dude is not real. So those two, I believe, are clearly ahead. And then there's a group of 2 right behind them. That's Jalen Milroe and Cam Ward. So I have Jalen Milroe 3, Cam Ward 4. I think it's that group behind those 2. And then there's a huge drop-off after that I need to see more from. And you could put a few different guys in these spots. I have Nico Iamaleava at 5. Dylan Gabriel at 6, Caleb Johnson at 7, Shador Sanders at 8, Jackson Dart at 9, and Alonzo Barnett making an appearance from James Madison at 10 on my Heisman rankings. So, obviously a lot of that's subject to change. Like I said, from 5 to 10, I think it's a lot interchangeable. You can throw different guys on there. I've seen Khalil Mullings make a lot of lists. I had John Mateer on there last week. So, I think his Heisman race is going to get interesting, but I think those clear 4, Ashton Jeanty, Travis Hunter, Jalen Milroe, Cam Ward. If it ended today, those 4 would be headed to New York. And I don't think there's a debate about it. So moving on to some games to look forward to this weekend. The only ranked-on-ranked matchup, which is confusing because I think they're tied at 25, UNLV and A&M. However, whatever that means. But number 9 Missouri going to number 25 Texas A&M. This game is going to be awesome. So you get to see Marcel Reed. I hope Connor Wegman. I hope he. Honestly, now that all this has happened with Matthew Sluka, I hope he redshirts and transfers somewhere and plays somewhere else because A&M does not need him. They need Marcel Reed to be their starter the rest of the year because they can actually do something if he's their starter, and they would have won the Notre Dame game if he was the starter. But this is a get-right type of game, and I think this game proves everything for me of who Missouri is. This shows their identity, and I'm just excited for that one. On Friday night, you get 2 phenomenal games. But one not so phenomenal, the other one's super interesting. But Michigan State and Oregon, that'll be fun. That's in Eugene. And then Syracuse at UNLV. That one is going to be awesome, Friday at 9. One game I've been looking forward to for a minute because Ohio State hasn't played anybody still. They played Michigan State last week, blasted them 38-7. But they play Iowa this week at 3:30. Caleb Johnson, on my Heisman list, one of the best running backs in all of college football. It's still a big spread. Ohio State's still going to win, and they're going to coast through this. But I just want to see them actually get tested by playing a team that actually has a pulse, and it's going to be awesome. And their schedule gets tough from here because I know they play Iowa at home this week. They go to Eugene next week and play Oregon. And then I think it's Nebraska in Columbus. And then I don't know where the Penn State game is, but they play Penn State after that one. So the next 4 are some decent teams that they got to lock in for. Deep South oldest rivalry, Auburn at Georgia. This game's going to be ugly. So that's going to be bad. Preseason, they had probably almost set this game as College Game Day. Clemson at Florida State. But now we might not even get DJU. Brock Glenn might be starting because of the injury. So it's going to be just ugly. Number 4, Tennessee at Arkansas. This game's going to have points because this will be the best offense. Wait, should I? Yeah, okay, this is the best offense Tennessee has faced. This is number 1 defense in the country. I believe they have the best defense in the country, but they're finally getting tested. Old Bobby Petrino is gonna make that defense be on their toes a little bit because they're going to be able to run the ball, pass the ball. Arkansas is going to be able to move the ball. This game's going to have some points. It's going to be awesome. Rematch of the national championship from last year, number 10, Michigan at Washington, a night game. And I'd heard this it was Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool Sports. This is the first road game for Michigan. And I hadn't thought about it, but it blew my mind because they've had all these quarterback struggles at home. They've changed out. They've played 3 different quarterbacks this year, and they've all been in Ann Arbor. They're going on the road to one of the loudest venues in all of college football. Can they win this game? I think they're like a 2.5-point favorite right now. I don't think it's crazy to take Washington as the home underdog there. They're giving Michigan points, and I think Washington can win that game. And then lastly, I want to mention the game that is College Game Day. Number 8, Miami at Cal, a 10:30 kickoff. This game is going to be awesome because Cal is the best defense that Miami's played so far. Miami is obviously coming off that tough game this past Friday against Virginia Tech, but I think this is another game that they can get tested in, and Cam Ward's going to have to show his stripes in this. Some other news around the leagues and just around college football overall. The SEC and Big Ten are looking to have 4 automatic bids to the college football playoff when the next contract begins in 2026. So with them saying in 2026, I'm assuming they're meaning the 16 team, which would mean the SEC and Big Ten are getting half the field, which I think is, if you're doing it how it should be done and who the best teams in college football are, it should be at least 8 of those 16. If it's 8 of the 12, I think this is honestly kind of an issue, and I can see people getting mad about it. But if it's the 16, I think people will understand, and that's how I think it is this year. I think there's legit in the Big Ten. You can go Penn State, Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State, or sprinkle in somebody else or whatever. In the SEC, you got Bama, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, Ole Miss too. Like there's some teams up there. Like If you're putting the best teams in, the SEC and Big Ten will make the majority of the field. And it feels like at this point the SEC and Big Ten are just like holding hands, and they're like, hey, what do you say we get on out of here? And they're going to go off and create their own type of football league and just say, screw the NCAA, and they're going to just figure it out on their own. And that's why I like the angle that the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are taking, where they're just creating basketball conferences so that they're always in the mix, because you can't have an NCAA tournament without the Big 12 now. And you can't have an NCAA tournament and a March Madness and all that without Big 12, Pac-12. You got to have those teams in there. So that's why I kind of like the angle that those conferences took with their conference realignment. And speaking of that, I'll have some more conference realignment later, because it's a constant thing. And then another thing I had seen, I think this was On3 that put this out. SEC and Big Ten are going to be playing each other in the future, it looks like. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be taking teams with like the same type of records or where you finish in conference and playing them. So I went and looked for Kentucky, for our sake, based on records the last 2 years, because they're going to be taking the last 2 years combined. In that instance, we would be playing a home and home with Illinois. So they're taking the last 2 years, seeing what those records are, lining it up with another team in the opposite conference, and you're doing a home and home, so that it helps strength the schedule, all this different stuff. But that would be having us playing Illinois, which would be a tough team this year. I mean, it's a really good football team. Luke Altmaier's getting it figured out. Belima, great coach. So that would be super interesting as of right now. But, we'll see how it goes going into the future. And it feels like that's going to end up happening. And then if the SEC goes to 9 games, and you're talking about 2 easy games if you drop the Louisville game, it could get crazy. But we'll have more on that soon. Conference realignment, like I mentioned. So Pete Thamel put out the other day, Gonzaga is set to join the Pac-12. This was something I had mentioned a couple weeks ago when Brett McMurphy put it out. But now it's official, so I don't know what took so long. But and then I think Gonzaga is going to be creating a football team, and they'll be playing in 2026. I think that's the news, unless I was getting joked or something. I don't know. But nonetheless, this makes the basketball 10 times more enticing, just as a casual fan of the Pac-12. Then he puts out, I think this is the next day, maybe same day, UTEP is in the final stages of joining the Mountain West, which they have now officially joined. So they left Conference USA and went to the Mountain West. And I think Montana and Montana State will be the next two, if that's the correct rumor going around. As I'm filming this, so Ben Scott Stevens on Twitter, he tweeted out today is October 2nd, 2024. It is the last day without college football or NFL games until November 27th, 2024, which is the day before Thanksgiving. Starting tomorrow, so when this video comes out, there's 55 consecutive days of football. Time to buckle up. It's coming. It's awesome. And October is where you really get the mix of things, because you get postseason baseball, you get NFL, college football, NBA starts, and then right at the end of October, early November, you get college basketball back. So speaking of college basketball, it's so soon. And I'm starting to get that bug. Like, I'm getting the itch for college basketball. I've been watching a whole lot of interviews. Shout out to John Rothstein, phenomenal podcast out there. Listen to all his podcasts with all these different coaches. I'm juiced up for it. So, as you all know, I'm just a college sports fan, but college football and college basketball mainly. I'm so excited for this college basketball season. Obviously, the conference realignment stuff sucks, and I mean, you can talk all day about how it ruined the Pac-12, ruined college sports overall. But if you're telling me I get like an Eric Musselman coach team, that he's one of the most successful modern coaches right now. He went to like 3 straight Sweet 16s in the tournament. If you're telling me I get an Eric Musselman USC team going to like Piscataway, New Jersey to play Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper on like a Tuesday at 9 o'clock, you tell me you're not going to get excited for that? Like, that's going to be phenomenal. You get a UCLA team that's extremely deep. You get to see them just go to like Penn State on like a Thursday. This is going to be absolute cinema. And then for the SEC, it just got stronger, adding Porter Moser and Rodney Terry's squads from Texas and Oklahoma. So this conference realignment, it does suck. but these matchups are phenomenal. So I do want to go ahead and highlight a couple of the opening day games. So the opening day of college basketball, you get Baylor at Gonzaga. And then I like that they're doing this so early. The MAC and Sun Belt are doing like their own challenge, how the SEC and the ACC have. And they're doing that to start the year. So it starts November 4th on the first day of college basketball. So you'll get a lot of super interesting matchups there. And then you get Missouri at Memphis playing at the FedEx Forum. That's all the first day of college basketball. Like, what an entrance to the sport. Then that Friday, November 8th, a game that has made me lose sleep this summer. North Carolina at Kansas. This was kind of like the UConn at Kansas last year. This game's going to be awesome. You get two of the oldest guys in college basketball, Hunter Dickinson and R.J. Davis. Two teams that are picked very high. Kansas is probably going to be preseason number 1. North Carolina's going to be sitting around 8 to 12 range probably. But you're getting the returning players of the year. Who was the Big 12 player of the year, actually? It might have been Hunter. I don't know why I'm blanking on this. But R.J. Davis, ACC player of the year last year. You get that team going into Allen Fieldhouse. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And then that Saturday, you get Arkansas at Baylor. That game's going to be amazing. Two star-studded rosters. Auburn at Houston, Tennessee at Louisville, all on that Saturday. And then that Sunday, to kind of be the cherry on top of the weekend, you get a Hurley squad going to Gonzaga. Arizona State with their solid freshman class, a lot of good returners. They're traveling up to Spokane and playing at Gonzaga. So that's going to be awesome. College basketball is right around the corner. So for those of you that are tuned in and love college sports as much as I do, you can't help but get excited for this. College football is in full effect. You're in conference games now with everybody, and then you get this college basketball right around the corner. So it's going to be awesome just to see this all come together at the same time. It's going to be amazing. Some news, though. I won't be able to get an episode out next week because I'll be out of town. I'm going, for those of you that might be golf fans, I'm playing Paynes Valley next week in Branson, Missouri. It's going to hurt the pocket, but so I'll be going to do that and just going on a family vacation out there and spending some time getting away from the world and just going to chill. So I won't be having the camera with me. I won't have my laptop or anything. And so there won't be a video next week. There won't be an instant reaction or whatever, but I'll get back to you probably next weekend. So it'll be a late upload for the week. But I'll be back next weekend, so no episodes next week. But I'll continue. There will still be tweets, TikToks. There's still going to be Instagram posts, all of that. So to see the socials, they'll be at the end of the video as always. Thank you. Enjoy college football this weekend. Even though people say it's not a great slate, watch the games. It's going to be awesome. Thank you for tuning in, and peace.